Hey everyone, welcome to the Week in Nintendo, a GVG podcast where we talk about Nintendo. Who could have guessed? Today I'm joined by Steve Bowling and Daniel Alba, and a couple of things that we want to talk today about are Nintendo setting game vouchers on fire and throwing your gold coins out the window, and some shoes that might be appealing. That one was on the fly. I should get credit for that. Everybody
Well
clap.
done.
Thank you. But before we get started, Daniel, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I've had a lot in this last week itself. Got some different kinds of interviews happening in my life right now, but there's one that's going to be on the channel very soon as of this posting, which I'm excited for people to watch and listen to. But there's that one. I pretty much just decompressed myself after a long F-Zero GX video, which was a lot longer than I expected it to be. But I'm glad I did it. I'm happy to do more GameCube game videos in the future. But yeah, it's been a pretty chill week otherwise.
I was happy to get to play a small part in the GX video.
I asked Brandon, have you ever done the Italian gibberish that Mario and Luigi do in the Mario and Luigi series? Because I needed exactly that for the little skit I had.
I had happened to have been practicing a little bit, like the week or two prior, because that's something that Charles just does immaculately. It sounds like he's speaking a real language when he's not, and I strive to be able to do something like that. In the end, I had to write down some gibberish on like Notepad and read it off to make it sound convincing. But
no, it was pretty good. Like because considering all the takes that were given to me with your sample, I mean they were all pretty good. I really wanted to include like the flubs that he did for it somehow, but
I decided to keep some of those in extra for you in case you found a reason to use them. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It's clearly, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm in a much different place. I'm visiting my best friend. I'll be back for next week's episode, like in the familiar location. But been playing a lot on my Switch lately. I've recently dove back into Emio, and I'm trying to beat that because I really want to know what the ending is without someone ruining it for me. Because everybody I know that's seen the ending says it's like it should have been Game of the Year, and that to me is just shocking because visual novels don't usually get put up for that type of stuff. But I've been finding that I'm really having a lot of fun digging into the mysteries surrounding the Smiling Man.
Yeah, that's a game I've been meaning to get back to as well. I didn't finish Missing Air, but I did finish Girl Who Stands Behind, which I really, really, really liked. And the amount of Emio I've played, I've also really enjoyed. It's just, I don't know. I got to be in the right mindset for a visual novel. Because this is not a knock on the genre of the games, but sometimes they can put me to sleep just by virtue of reading, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because, my friend who I'm visiting, he has a gigantic theater room. If you're up on your GVG lore, it's Nick's house. We've streamed from here many times, but he has a theater, and I was playing it in there. But after a long day of work, sitting in a dark room reading a visual novel is like, it's a recipe for restful sleep. And so I was playing it two nights ago, and I just passed out in the chair playing it, and no regrets really. But yeah, I totally get why you may feel that they put you to sleep because yeah, I was fully engaged in the story, but I was like, oh, I'm getting more and more sleepy. It just eventually fell asleep, Joy-Cons in hand. Like I've never felt older in my life, but yeah, once I woke up from the nap, I played maybe 20 more minutes and then was like, okay, if I keep doing this after a long day, I'm going to be here for the duration.
Oh man, I've been dying to get into Emio because I played portions of the other two Famicom Detective Club games, and I haven't been able to get to Emio. I had a bit of an itch to do so. Last year when I was at a commission because of my voice, one of the games that I played in the meantime was the Switch release of Ghost Trick, and that's an excellent game, an excellent visual novel style as well, and that's gotten me more into completing more visual novels in the last half a year. So hopefully I'll be able to join everyone with that too, because I love the genre. As
I
for as
will
much as it can put me to sleep too, at times.
I will say that one thing I'm super hopeful for is that games like the Famicom Detective Club trilogy, Ghost Trick, Phoenix Wright, those games get mousecon support on the Switch too. Because it would make the elements where you have to like look around your environment and find things. I think they'd feel just more fun than moving a stick around and having like an on-screen hand. Because I feel like that's dreadfully slow, even in Emio.
It'd certainly be more natural. But let's get into some of the big news from this week. Real quick, we'll just touch on this briefly since John and Daniel discussed it on the channel, which you can go watch if you haven't watched that yet. We have Pokemon Day coming up next week, and the most open secret we've ever had. There's going to be a Pokemon Presents then, like every single year, but they finally announced it. So, Daniel, why don't you pop one of your predictions that you had in there? Why don't you give it to us here?
Oh man, my favorite prediction was that we're gonna see some new Kalos forms of Pokemon that appeared after the fact, because we have Alolan forms, Galarian forms, and so on. That was not a thing until Alola. So going back to Kalos and having some different forms of Pokemon shown with Legends, ZA is going to be something that I'm pretty sure they're going to show alongside with new Mega Evolutions. And the one I predicted was, because we're in a very France-like setting with Lumio City, we're going to get a form of Milcery and Alcremie, which were very much like, the milk-based Pokemon, and also one that's very much based on sweets. But in this form, it's going to be cheese-based instead. So we're going to get Alcheesy as one of the forms.
Cheese curd, the Pokemon.
Yeah.
I would like that. I like a good food Pokemon fun.
Yeah, Pokemon Day will be coming up. There's been rumors floating around about a Switch 1 Direct in the month of February, but the closer we get to Pokemon Day, the further and further that gets from being the truth, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting that may very well not pan out. And realistically, with 1 week left in the month, it feels like there's not a chance any longer, because this was a leak from Nate the Hate, which we discussed on the Week in Nintendo here, right after the Switch 2 reveal, because he kind of mentioned those two in the same breath, right? Like, Switch 2 reveal is this date, February Direct. And it's kind of interesting to see that he absolutely, obviously nailed the Switch 2 Direct, but may have missed on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we still have a while yet before the Switch 2 presumably comes out. But after Xenoblade, we don't really have any hard dates for anything, because we don't know when Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out. We'll probably find out next week. But there's a chance that doesn't come out before Switch 2. So what fills the calendar between now and then?
That's a good question, and I could foresee ZA being announced for Switch 2 at the Pokemon Presents, like saying that there will be either a Switch 2 version, or at least confirming that it will be backwards compatible, because the Pokemon audience and the Nintendo Direct audience aren't necessarily the same thing. There's a whole lot more Pokemon fans out there than there are people who watch Directs, so they may find a way to mention Switch 2 during a Pokemon Presents, so that the loads of people out there who love Pokemon, who may not be even aware of the Switch 2, become aware of it and now want one to play something they may announce at that Presents.
I could also see there being some kind of spin-off Pokemon title that is a Switch 2 game. Don't dedicate your next mainline to Switch 2, but put something there to let people know that you can play Pokemon here as well.
Yeah, most of these Pokemon Presents are just pretty much at this point dominantly about their mobile titles: Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Masters DX. Now we have trading card game Pocket, which I'm actually excited to see for the first time at a Pokemon Presents. I'm curious to see what they'll update with that at this event, because that's been their hugest mobile game in quite a while. But yeah, from that point, it's like, well, we don't know what else to really expect except more from Legends ZA because we don't actually know what that game looks like. It's just a concept in the trailer that they had a year ago. But there's also definitely a chance for other stuff to be shown that's not ever been announced. Aside stuff like we've had new Pokemon Snap was a thing that happened a while back as well. But yeah, one of the other things that John and I talked about was, is the mainline series ever going to come to NSO, be on its own service? Are we just going to get Pokemon Pinball? I'd be fine with that too. But that's been our big like ask for a long time now.
Dialing it back to the TCG real quick, I have a pack opening right now. So, which pack am I opening, y'all?
So slide it two to the right, two packs to the right. I don't know if it actually makes a difference, honestly, but
my right or your right?
That direction. Yeah, you're good. You're good. There you go.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. Hang on, I gotta get the camera back on myself. There we go. No. Hang on. There, okay. Ooh, Darkrai. Voltorb again. Skull Fossil and Dusclops. Nice. Got 2 new cards in
here
that
we
pack.
go.
Is this what we're doing now? It's my turn.
All right, here comes Daniel.
Sorry, Steve. We're taking over with Pokemon TCG Pocket. The brain rot is real. We've got a Slugma, Shellos, looks very cute, a Rocky Helmet, Togepi, and Shieldon. Nothing super exciting for this one, but that's just how it goes.
Yeah, most days I open a pack and I don't get anything new, but in that one I got 2.
You got the podcast luck right now. Podcast host buff.
That's impressive. The only mobile Nintendo game I've been playing, I recently got into Pikmin Bloom, and I've been playing that now, and it's slowly becoming an obsession. But yeah, I haven't dropped into TCG yet. Knowing my luck, I'll be 2 years late to the whole thing, and then I'll be excitedly talking about it in 2027 when no one's thinking about it anymore.
I think TCG Pocket's going to have some staying power. We're 3 sets into the game now, and I'm sticking with it. I open my packs every single day.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Same here.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised. You might want to download and join the collective brain rot.
I'll tell you what, if y'all tune in next week, I will play TCG Pocket over the course of the week, and on the next episode of The Win, I'll tell you what I think of it.
Okay. And you got to save a pack to open live on the episode.
I will open a pack live on the episode.
We'll all do it together.
We go. We're no longer GVG. We are TCG.
We're GVG Pocket now.
There you go. So we've got some bad news from Nintendo, and John did an update video for us about this, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about it at length. And that's that gold coins will be going away. Was it March 25th?
Yes.
And Switch game vouchers will not be usable on Switch 2. Or Switch 2 games, I guess, to be more specific. What do y'all think about that?
I have thoughts on this. So I posted on socials that optimistically, I'm hoping that gold coins going away is the beginning of a rollout for some new Switch 2 specific rewards program. And I think that there are reasons to do this that don't necessarily make sense to us, but I think they're tied together. So I think we're basically waiting for the other shoe to drop on bad news. And my belief is that other shoe is that standard game prices across the board will be $69.99 on Switch to match PS5 and Series X. Tears of the Kingdom was $69.99. John mentioned in his video that, even Breath of the Wild was the equivalent of $69.99 for them. So there's been kind of a moving of the needle in the wrong direction price-wise for Switch games for a bit now, right? If you're in UK, it's been going on the whole generation just on select games. So I think Nintendo, like everyone, is having to increase prices because game development is more expensive. Consoles with more capabilities mean more artists, more time, more everything, right? And I'm betting like somewhere in the world of dollars and cents that only make sense to corporate finance people, they're like, a gold coin is worth X amount of money. And we can't really keep the discount ratio the same as it is without, screwing ourselves out of a ton of money. Something like that. They probably have some calculation for how much each gold coin is worth. And they have to scrap them and introduce something new for it to like make sense without just utterly changing the program. We know Nintendo's not very keen to change stuff up like that. They think that we can't understand it, which they should have a little more faith in their customers, but whatever. And I think Vouchers are in a similar situation where they already saw people like, I don't want to say gaming the system because it's absolutely what the system is designed for, but saving those vouchers for the most expensive games Nintendo puts out, right? So I guarantee you loads of people used one of their vouchers for Tears of the Kingdom, right? Nintendo's first $70 game, and people were like,
I did.
I'll give you 50 for it.
Yeah, like I'm not going to use a Switch voucher on WarioWare Move It, a $50 game. I'm going to use it on the $70 game and save more money. It's just that's just logic.
Yeah, makes the most sense. Nintendo's had their history with their own rewards programs in the past. Like they've had Club Nintendo, which I personally enjoyed a lot. The rewards we had from that were a lot nicer. I still have my 3DS case from back then. You still see Club Nintendo down here. The Zelda themed one. Some other stuff I have here as well. But their rewards programs have kind of changed and evolved over time. There's other companies that do the same thing. PlayStation has PlayStation Stars, I believe it's called. That is also essentially the same thing where you have to sign up for it first. People don't really know that, but you sign up for it, and purchases that you make go into a currency that you can then redeem for full game purchases, other such things within the PSN store. But yeah, it's kind of a shame to see the gold coin. The gold points are going away. It's always really nice to buy a like larger game and then kind of save those points for smaller titles, indie titles. I've done that a lot of times where they've kind of contributed to a purchase of an indie title that I've always gotten that I had an interest for, but didn't really like wanted to just shell out everything all at once for.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's it has to be setting up for a different kind of rewards program, I would assume, going into the Switch 2 life cycle. But for now, it's just like, get what you can, make sure you have all your points redeemed, and get something nice before they're gone forever.
I long for the days of the Wii U Digital Deluxe program, because that was like a 10% back that you got, and I got a crap ton of games using that.
Yeah, I was literally, I had to remind myself what the name of that program was. While Daniel was talking, I was Googling it to make sure I spoke correctly, but I'm with you. The Deluxe Digital program was the best deal that Nintendo has ever offered. Like every digital game you got like $5 or $6. So basically it was buy 10 and your 10th game, no matter how much it cost, was free. And it was glorious. Like you, I have so many digital Wii U games because of that. And it was weirdly tied to the SKU of the console you got. Like you had to get the 32 gig console or whatever it was at the time. You had to get the upgraded version. And that was the only way you could get into that program. And then Nintendo, for whatever reason, decided to axe it like halfway through the Wii U's life. They were like, people like this, let's get rid of it.
It was guaranteed for 2 years when it came out. And
right.
And we did get the full 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right, because Wii U came out in 2013. It ended at the beginning of 2015.
Yeah, that was a great deal. It's so funny when you compare the Wii U SKUs. You have this poopy little white Wii U with 16 gigs of memory, and it didn't come with with Nintendo Land. And then you have the premium black Wii U with 32 gigs of storage, Nintendo Land, and the Digital Deluxe program. It's so much better.
Literally the Wii U and then the cooler Wii U, essentially.
The Wii U for grown-ups. Yeah, I'm sad to see this stuff go, especially the game vouchers program. I hope that there will be some kind of replacement for one or both of these when it comes to Switch 2. Maybe not right away, but I don't think it'll be long before we find out. That Switch 2 Direct is creeping up quick. Time is moving.
We're almost a month away at this point.
Yeah.
Almost.
We are a month away, and I think that there's a couple reasons for why we're not getting vouchers right away. I think that one, if the smart money, if the vouchers continued, the smart money would be to load up on vouchers right now.
Right now.
And then just buy every launch title, right? I'll take the lot. Which Nintendo doesn't want people to do, especially if those games are all going to be $70. Like if it's just a list of $70 games, Nintendo doesn't want you, saving $20 on each game. But alternatively, I think it's good to message this now, because if you waited any longer than now, I would wager there are probably already people out there who stocked up on game vouchers just assuming they would work. And then just they're going to have to do something with those. And so
hopefully
Nintendo
not take a loss.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong, but it's only first party games. So if you had every Switch 1 first party game, those vouchers are useless now.
I think there are some third party games on there, but it is largely first party.
Yeah, I think Bayonetta is one of the ones that's on there that's available.
But that's a Nintendo published game, isn't it?
Oh, well.
It might be that. It might be games Nintendo published. I'm not sure.
Probably.
To be quite frank, I never used them. I wanted to, and then they took them away, and then they came back, and I just kind of kept forgetting to buy them.
I am doing research.
He is checking the facts now.
I am doing the fact checking.
Live. Well,
if
live
this
for
tab
us.
will load.
Quick stall.
Is Fitness Boxing a Nintendo published
That is
game?
Nintendo published.
Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling through the list. Nintendo. It's looking that way.
There are some very good Nintendo published titles that aren't from their main development houses on Switch.
Live Alive?
Live Alive was Nintendo published.
Okay.
Nintendo published a lot of the I don't want to say riskier, but I guess that's the only way I could imply it. Like Nintendo published a lot of Square Enix games that maybe Square Enix wasn't 100% sure would do very well out here.
Yep, the entire list is Nintendo published. DC Superhero Girls is the only one I'm unsure of.
I'm pretty sure that's Nintendo as well. I remember Nintendo emailing me about it back in the day, so I'm pretty sure that is also a Nintendo published game.
Well, that answers that. So Nintendo published games only, I guess, but still, I still think that's fine because Nintendo games never go on sale.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, this is the best way to get a deal on them even now.
Yeah, we haven't had Player's Choice or Nintendo Selects in a very long time, and they know they can get away with selling them at full price, and so they keep leaving it as it is.
All my homies love Player's Choice. For those who weren't there back then or don't know, $50 games went down to $20 if they joined the Player's Choice program. That's an insanely good deal, and a lot of first-party games ended up in it.
Yeah, and you one thing that drove me crazy about them, though, and to be clear, this wasn't just a Nintendo thing. Sony had this, called Greatest Hits or whatever. Xbox had it too, and it seems to have largely gone away over the last 2 generations. We haven't seen it on any major platform since. But there was this like they'd put like the scarlet letter on these boxes, so you knew that you got them for less money. Like on Xbox, they put them in a friggin' like silver case in a sea of greens, right? And PlayStation did red ones against all your blue cases. Like to me, it always stood out as like we want everyone to know that you waited. When you look at your shelf, we want you to feel a twinge of shame when you look at this box. Like
you are not a member of the 3DS Ambassador Program, actually.
The one that hurts me, yeah. I had it. I've been staring at this for so long. If anyone remembers the GameCube ones, Player's Choice had this bright yellow mark on top and also on the spine for some reason. So when you have it in lined up with the rest of your library with the black one with the purple logo, it's a bit of an eyesore, honestly.
And if it happens to be a well-selling game, it also got slapped with that bestseller sticker on the front too.
Ugh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Melee had that for sure, and people were really annoyed about that one.
Yeah. It's awful. Nintendo, why did you do that? This is dumb. Don't do dumb things. I know you're gonna do dumb things. It's okay. Speaking of dumb things, we've got a pair of Donkey Kong shoes.
Hey, don't call my man's feet dumb.
These shoes are so interesting. So I don't know that we talked about it on the Win previously, but when I was in New York, I got to take a look at this gaudy Donkey Kong hoodie. It's like it has an actual hood, and you pull it over, and it's got like a Donkey Kong head on it. The zipper is the tie. Like you look like Donkey Kong. Like it's got his chest printed on the front. It's bad. It's real bad. But the more I looked at it, I came so close to buying it because I was just staring it down and I was like, this is stupid. This is bad. And the more time I spent looking at it, I was like, I kind of like it. I might want to buy it. I had to be dragged out of the store before I picked it up. And I'm feeling this way about the shoes. Like the first look at them, I was like, these are horrifically ugly shoes. And like 5 minutes in, I'm like, I don't know though.
But
I could wear these to a wedding.
These Donkey Kong
I want them
shoes.
Desperately now.
It just looks like it's Donkey Kong's fur on these shoes. As I look at them,
they're not as bad as like other, crossover shoe designs that I've seen. Honestly, because of the fur like texture that they have, I think they're kind of cool. I don't think they would stand out a ton if you wore them because they're brown, a common shoe color. So I think you could get away with wearing them casually.
Yeah,
probably.
Brandon canonically thinks they are in fact very appealing. I was proud of you for that one.
I didn't know that was going to come out of my mouth until it was happening. It was a good moment for me. But yeah, if you want some Donkey Kong shoes, do we know what these retail for?
$150.
Well, that is, to be fair, that is speculation. They've not announced a price yet, but that is like the news on this was broken by like a sneaker website, and they were just saying like based on what they know, they think it'll be 150. And I'm like, that's a lot for a crazy shoe, but also sneakerheads, they gobble stuff like this up. I might actually try to get them just for science. Like if I can get my hands on a pair, but I've tried this precisely twice in my life to get like a limited edition sneaker, and I don't have it in me. Like I don't have the finger speed or the mental acuity or whatever it is that it takes. I don't have it. I've never ever gotten a pair of limited sneakers.
By any chance, were those other ones like the Sonic soap shoes? Because I thought those were really cool.
Yes, they were.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to get those and missed the boat on them entirely. If there's somebody at Sega who watches or listens to the Win, 3 pairs, please. I will make a video grinding rails with the boys if we get them.
Oh, man.
Say you'll see me shatter a bone live on YouTube.
If you wear the Donkey Kong shoes, you are legally obligated to slip on a banana peel.
I could do that.
Okay.
Unless I have to pay for the shoes, because the shoes and the medical bill, that's a lot.
You don't pay for the shoes, you pay for the banana peel.
You pay for the banana peel.
Supply your own banana.
There we go. Perfect.
So we've got one more, I guess, piece of news. This is not very surprising, but it is, it's worth talking about. Pokemon Day isn't the only video game themed day we've got coming up. March 10th, otherwise known as Martin Day. It's Mario Day. And Nintendo is releasing a Mario Wonder OLED bundle to celebrate. This is part of their final push to get that sales number over the PS2.
That is certainly what this feels like. This feels like Sony found 10 million console sales hiding in a binder somewhere. And Nintendo's like, well, we're going to do this just to spite you.
Look at this Nintendo Switch bundle I found in my pocket.
Right. There was a way to do this, and this wasn't it, in my opinion. Mario bundles have been ubiquitous throughout the Switch's life, and they usually come with something unique, right? Like we had the Mario Red OLED and the Mario Red Standard. And this one just feels closer to the much bemoaned Mario Kart bundle, where it's just the Switch with the game. You know, they're like, here you go. It's just the red and blue Joy-Con. Nothing special about the Switch included with it. Just has NSO and Mario Wonder. Now, if for whatever reason you're not waiting for the Switch 2 and you don't have a Switch 1, this is a great way to jump in because Mario Wonder is one of the best games on the platform, and NSO gives you access to a whole bunch of other awesome games. I like that about it. I just wish that this was actually a special edition console and not just a bundle.
This is our tax season bundle. That's what it really is. Like, everyone's getting their return checks, and now they've got some money to spend. Might as well buy that shiny new box, even though the stuff inside of it isn't any different.
Yeah, or this is your kid broke their Switch, and this is how you get a new one.
Yeah, they really phoned this one in. I would have loved the new special edition console, or at least they could have even done this during the holiday season instead of Mario Kart yet again, but they had to really roll that in one more time. But yeah, this is definitely just one more way to reach those sales numbers so that they can make up for all those PS2s they found under their couch just by surprise.
Look at all these receipts we found. We must have sold more PS2s than we thought.
I find that to be so funny.
It's such a silly thing that they keep finding more sales just to keep a hold of this record. I think it's inevitable at this point that record's lost.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like realistically,
it's going to keep on selling even after Switch 2 releases, and there's no stopping that number from climbing higher and higher.
Yeah, I suspect that Nintendo positions the original Switch as like their budget-friendly option once the Switch 2 comes out. Like they keep it on the market. I would suspect that just like with the PS5 and the Series X, we will see cross-compatible games for 2 years after Switch 2 comes out. And Nintendo will probably sell that what is it, 8-9 million units that they're missing to people who maybe upgrade to the Switch 2 and you know, they eventually, like little kids, it'll become the little kids console, right? Like, you know, whoever the youngest person in your family is that is the last in the hand-me-down train maybe gets a shiny new old Switch.
I think that's going to do it for most of our big news topics for today, but we do have a mailbag. If you join our winner's circle, you can hop into our Discord and ask us some questions to answer here on the show. And I've got a whole bag of questions to look through right now, so let me pluck one out. Hustlebun has an interesting one. We might have to think on this one, but top 3 Mario stages from the entire 2D library. A world theme can count, so you can say Giant Land.
Ooh, top 3.
From the 2D, from all 2D Mario games.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I got an easy one. The that ninja level in Mario Wonder, the dancing one where you jump to the beat.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that is a very good one. I actually was also going to put up a Mario Wonder one. Just Piranha Plants on Parade. It is, to me, one of the most memorable levels in Mario history, and I love the Piranha Plants singing to the beat of the music. It's when I think of Mario Wonder, it's the first level I remember.
I love that if you have like a fire flower and you defeat the piranhas, it just cuts out their part entirely, just so abruptly.
Yeah, I did that the very first time. I was like, enemy, and I just started killing them, and I was like, oh no, they were being friendly.
The jolliest Mario level of all time.
Indeed. But if we take a wider view, because I don't want to just nominate Mario Wonder levels, even though recency bias is real, and I adore Wonder. Mario.
I can think.
There's a level from Mario World that comes to mind.
I wonder if we're gonna say the same one because we probably will.
Well, the one I was thinking of is it Chocolate Island? Is that where it is? It's it's a maze-like level where the exit changes based on your performance.
On your time, yeah. Depending on
Yeah.
like what the time is, how many coins you have, it changes like what the rest of the stage is when you enter the warp pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a standout level for me. Was it the same one or did you have a different one?
I do have a different one than that one. It's the one level that appears before you enter Bowser Land, essentially. It's the underwater level that's like a sunken ship. And just the premise of it, the fact that it's such a different and unique level because you're swimming through this sunken ship. And then when you get to the end, it's very uncharacteristic of Mario World that you get this weird orb and you're just like, oh, I cleared the stage. Why is that the only world in the entire game that you get an orb from? But then you think about the context, and this might be a fallen airship from Super Mario Bros. 3 that we would get an orb to clear those stages. So I thought that context, when I finally made the connection years later, because I hadn't played Mario Bros. 3 at the first time I played it, I was like, whoa, it all connects. It all makes sense. It's all continuous.
Like the only moment I think in all of 2D Mario where there is a chronology being recognized.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
So I wanted to bring back an older Mario game, World. I wanted to go a bit further back, and for me, one of my most memorable levels, because I played it when I was very young, was the first Sun World in World 2 in Super Mario Bros. 3. Because it's we take it for granted today, but if you were a little kid playing Mario and, an angry sun, and then you're like running along and that sun tries to get you, like that is one of the most terrifying things that had happened in Mario ever at that point in time. And it was so unexpected, and I remember just I would go back to that level over and over again as a kid to try to mess with the sun, like, and just see if I could, how close I could come to getting hit without getting hit by it. And then, eventually, inevitably getting a star and just killing the sun. and thinking about the implications of that. Like, I just destroyed the sun. Everyone's going to die. Like Mario has murdered the sun. But so that for me is I think it's hard to understate how surprising that was for me when I was like 8 years old.
It was scary when my version of that was discovering, what are they called? The Phantos of Mario Brothers 2?
Yeah.
Essentially the same thing, but I played Mario Advance before I played Mario Brothers 3, so that was like my moment of, oh my god, something in the stage is actively chasing me down, it looks scary, and it's trying to kill me, I'm afraid now.
Oh yeah, that terrified me as a kid. Like Mario 2 was the third Mario I played. I had to think about that. Like we got Mario 1 with our NES, we got Mario 3 after that, and then we eventually rented Mario 2, and I was, oh no. Like I remember being a kid and just nervous running away from those things. I'm like, I don't want your key anyway, just take it.
People will probably debate me on whether or not this even counts as a Mario level, but Yoshi's Island, the Raphael the Raven Palace stage, just where you're ascending the tower, you have like those arrow blocks that Yoshi can eat and then spit out and then jump on them, and they start moving you in the direction that they're pointing in. I love the whole layout of that level, but the way it culminates as a kid stuck with me so much, where Kamek makes Raphael the Raven big, and then he slams into you so hard that Yoshi and Baby Mario get sent into outer space and land on the moon. And then Raphael the Raven floats up into the air and chases you to the moon to kick your ass. And then I thought the visual of it was so cool because you run around the moon and the camera actually follows you. So at some points you might be upside down. The whole set piece for that is still to this day like one of the coolest moments in like a 2D platformer for me.
Yeah, that totally counts. I would say so. That's something that you definitely have more experience with that than I think. I experienced that with you when we did it on stream. I was like, oh my god, the spectacle on a Super Nintendo game. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's so cool. That game uses the Super FX chip. Was it Super FX or Super FX 2? Uses one of them.
Oh, I'm not sure.
That game has a lot of 3D hidden throughout it. And I don't think it would have been able to do that without it. But yeah, that one stands out for me. Any other levels before we pull another question?
I tried really hard to think of anything from the new Super Mario Brothers series, and I just can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Oh, there's that one Super Mario Brothers 3 level. Is it World 5? Is World 5 the Sky World? I think it is.
I
think so.
It's right after the giant world, right?
Yeah. And you have that tower that you have to climb up to get to the top half of the world up in the clouds. I always thought that was cool. It was covered in a bunch of golden blocks. It felt really special.
Yep, that is World 5. Yeah.
And the
goal like
of the level wasn't like to get from point A to point B. Like you're literally going on a journey into the sky.
I like how we were tasked with 3, and I think we've put down at least 6 now. Don't ask us about Mario levels. There's too many.
All right. Let's see. Trying to find. We got one from GA Studios. We kind of touched on this a little bit. But do you see any Nintendo announcements happening at all next week outside of Pokemon?
I don't think so. It's really difficult because if you know how Nintendo and the Pokemon Company operate, they're coordinated, obviously, but they're still separate things, right? Like you can, for instance, within the realm of, people who get access to stuff, right? Those are very much separate groups. Like people who get Nintendo review codes, you might notice, don't get Pokemon. Like you have to be on the Pokemon Company's good graces to get Pokemon review copies. So, but to the extent that Nintendo owns a piece of the Pokemon Company, I think that they would plan their directs around Pokemon Day and are certainly involved in the planning of Pokemon Day. So I don't think that I don't think that Nintendo would want a direct to necessarily be sharing space with Pokemon Day. And given that there's just a week left in the month, I just don't really see it happening at this point. I think that they would likely do it Xenoblade is what, the 20th of March? Or is it sooner than that?
20... No, I think you're right.
Yeah, so we've got about 3 weeks until Xenoblade releases. I could see them either doing... I feel like going to the end of March is going to then also block you off because you have the Switch 2 Direct right at the beginning of April. So maybe early March, like in 2 weeks or something, we might see one. But I truly don't anticipate a Switch 1 Direct in the week that we have left.
I thought it was interesting to bring this one up because there was a rumor today that there will be Nintendo news next week from not Samus Hunter, but Samus Hunter 2. I don't know if they're the same person, but I don't think they are. They mention, let me see if I can get the exact quote. Let's see. It may not be like a Nintendo Direct or anything, but they make mention of Prime 2, Kirby Planet Robobot, and Fire Emblem Remake. And I don't think all of those things will happen. I think one thing will happen.
Yeah. Because Nintendo, I mean, in the past, they've adequately spaced out a Pokemon Presents with the actual Directs in the past before. So I find it hard to believe that they would do like a Direct and a Presents within the same week. But if they're doing like an announcement of one of these 3 that you just mentioned during that week, I think that's something that they would do. That's fine. It's not going to like set headlines on fire or anything. All of these are essentially remakes or remasters of older titles. So that makes more sense to just kind of drop a quick tweet at 6 a.m. our time to announce something like that.
Right. That's essentially how I feel about it. If we're getting one of those 3 titles, you don't need a direct for that. And one thing to consider is that Nintendo, unlike Xbox, doesn't really do strictly first-party directs very often. Like, they'll do a direct that's focused on a single game when they have a really big game they want to show off, which I don't think they have anything like that outside of Xenoblade lined up for Switch 1 currently. And I think the smart money is on the idea that the vast majority of Nintendo's development partners, third parties, are working on Switch 2 titles. Yeah. So I don't know that you have enough games to put out a full-on direct, but like Daniel said, the good old Nintendo 6 a.m. tweet machine is alive and active. So I definitely foresee if there's anything happening, it's just a social media shadow drop. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. Those can be pretty exciting on their own.
And when they do that, it tends to happen in waves. Like, sometimes a few days in a row, sometimes multiple times over the course of a single day. So I could see that happening, but, I would probably hedge my bets on maybe just one of these things happening, if anything at all. Samus Hunter does not have the greatest track record, as far as I know, but I don't know. I figured it was worth bringing up.
Yeah, despite how I conveyed it, I want people to know that if we do get Fire Emblem Remake or Metroid Prime 2 Echoes announced within the coming week, I will be there, frame 1, to say something about it. I'm very excited to hear either of these 2 come. And Planet Robot as well. I hadn't played Planet Robot until very recently, like a couple of years ago. And that was honestly one of the best Kirby games I've ever played. So it makes a lot of sense to bring that over too, as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that, these are exciting announcements in and of themselves. Prime 2 is the one that I kind of feel weird about, like iffy, just because Prime 1 Remastered did so well that I feel like Prime 2 Remastered should maybe get a bit more shine on it, like than just a social media drop. But I mean, a full-on remake of a Fire Emblem game is a pretty big deal too. So it's just hard for me to imagine these as shadow drops, but at the same time, I think it's less indicative of the quality of the game and more the amount of stuff they have available to announce. So if we are talking that maybe this is what Nintendo's got, then, we've seen weeks before, like Brandon said, where it's like every day or every other day, Nintendo drops something that feels direct worthy just on Twitter. So maybe that's what we're going to see. It's not outside the realm of possibility for sure.
Yeah, I believe that's how we heard about games like Origami King, I believe. That was just a social media post, wasn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. It was. So I definitely wouldn't put it past them, especially if they're these, I don't want to call them lower tier titles, but like not crazy exciting brand new things. I definitely could see that happening. But before we sign off for tonight, we do have another one from Dead Alpha Lion that I thought might be fun to close out the show. How would you guys rank the 4 main Mario sports series? Tennis, golf, baseball, and strikers.
Oh.
This is a bit tougher for me than I thought it would be.
As much as I enjoyed was it Super Mario Sluggers on the GameCube, the baseball series is probably the lowest of the tiers for me of these 4, honestly.
Its last outing was Mario Sports Superstars.
But beyond that
says pretty much all you need to know. I agree that Sluggers is at the bottom, or baseball, broadly speaking, is at the bottom. This might be a hot take, I don't know, but I would put Strikers at second to last because I was very disappointed in Strikers on Switch.
I like Strikers a lot. Sorry if you hear my child in the background. Strikers on GameCube has never been top for me. That's still my favorite of the 3. So I might have to also put it second to last.
Yeah, honestly, thinking about it more about the time I spent with it. I spent so much time with Mario Tennis on the N64. I love Power Tennis on the GameCube. That's probably the top one for me. Tennis Aces is excellent as well. The tennis series of all these here would probably be the one that land on top for me. And then I think I would put golf second, which also means the Strikers is third place for all of us across the board.
Tennis and golf is a lot harder for me, but it might be slightly unfair in my case because I haven't played. I played tennis on Game Boy Color, but I didn't play golf on Game Boy Color. So, like, I'm leaning tennis just because I was there when the RPG came out and I played that. So, but I love Toadstool Tour a lot. That's a great game.
You definitely sound like someone who would put golf, because I know how much you love golf on Switch as well, Mario Golf.
Yeah.
See, now,
golf is number one.
It's interesting that you say that, because I think I'm with Daniel. Because Super Rush for me was packed with great ideas that just kind of missed the mark. But Tennis Aces is a fighting game, and I will hear no objections to that. Tennis Aces has all the core elements of a fighting game, and I love it for that. I'd say tennis tops golf for me.
For me, I like Super Rush a lot. I don't do any of the rushing. I don't do the running. I just play simultaneous play with other people, and I find that to be fun. Its core golf mechanics I really enjoy, and I think it just gets overshadowed by this other thing they tried to do with it that just didn't land.
I definitely agree with that. I would say that those mechanics put me off, and I just kind of stopped playing the game after I tried them for a while.
Yeah,
so,
but I suppose if you play it without those things, then yeah, it would be a much more competent game in my opinion.
Golf has always been this more nebulous, like weird series for me. I remember on the N64 I rented it, and it was actually very hard for me to make any progress. And then also had all these normal human people in it as well. I remember Plum was the one that I remember. I think that's the one you start off with, and you can unlock like a whole family of characters from that point. But you can eventually I think that's one of the first games you can also unlock Metal Mario as well.
Which is something that they followed up with in Toadstool Tour, except it's not Metal Mario. You unlock Shadow Mario in that one.
Oh. I don't think I realized that one.
Yep.
And then Shadow Mario just kind of didn't appear after that, did he? He just kind of left the void.
He sure didn't. I remember unlocking Shadow Mario and being like, why? Why is he here? But yeah, I mean, for me, Toadstool Tour, I played that game a whole lot with my dad, like a ton. So much so that we both got really good at it. So I have a lot of positive memories associated with that. But maybe I should go back and play the RPG on Game Boy Color, because I've played tennis and I loved it. I'm doing myself a disservice. I love Golf Story. I talk about it all the dang time.
It's essentially partially what inspired Golf Story.
Yeah.
But yeah, much like you, I have N64 core memories with my dad are with Mario Kart 64 and with Mario Tennis. And those are some things that I hold dearly. And we had a lot of great matches in the tennis era. We tried playing this a little bit on the GameCube with Power Tennis, but it wasn't really the same. But I sure enjoyed that quite a bit for what it was when it came out. So yeah, that's the top one for me.
Yeah, the nice thing about Mario sports games is you can always just kind of expect a base level of enjoyment. Whether or not they hit all the other milestones with each entry is up for debate. I really wish they'd stop this post-launch support thing that they've been pushing with golf, tennis, and strikers. Can you just release the game with all the stuff in it from the beginning, please?
Just release a game where Pauline isn't a DLC character or unlockable, please.
Thank you, Mario Party Jamboree. You're the first game where she's just there from the start.
You can unlock her in like 2 minutes or like of opening the game. You just gotta find her on an island, and there she is, along with Ninja. So they're back in more games.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us for this. Make sure to get over on GVG's YouTube channel for Pokemon Presents coming Thursday to react along that with us, and then we'll see what happens from there. Hopefully we have some Pokemon Legends ZA to talk about. I've been waiting very patiently, Pokemon Company. You literally announced this game at the last Pokemon Day, I'm pretty sure. It's been too long.
Let them cook it. I want to make sure this is a polished experience. I know the last one was actually pretty good in terms of what their usual standard is, but if this is even better, then I'm all for them just taking their time.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
please.
Me too. Steve, why don't you tell everybody how they can join the Winner's Circle?
Absolutely. You can join our Winner's Circle over at patreon.com/gvgaming. We've just introduced a whole new set of tiers. GVG Bronze, Silver, and Gold memberships. Silver is just $5, gets you access to the Winner's Circle, which gives you each and every episode of The Week in Nintendo 1 day early, as well as our other podcasts. We have an exclusive PlayStation 1 out there, a bunch of other benefits. Feel free to check those out. Again, patreon.com/gvgaming is where you can find them.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to The Week in Nintendo. Keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye now.
Bye.
Till we meet again.